Last night, I caught the end of a movie called The Misfits with Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, and Montgomery Clift. I had never actually seen the movie. I was astounded at this scene in this film. And the scene that I saw contained Marilyn Monroe, as I say, Gable and Montgomery Clift. And they were out hunting in an old airplane and an old pickup truck somewhere out west for wild mustangs. They would chase the horses down in a pickup truck, lasso them from the back of the truck, tie them up, tie their 4 feet together. You see the horse laying there exhausted after it's been caught, and basically its eyes full of fear, as you can imagine, waiting to be picked up the next day by the slaughterhouse. Marilyn Monroe played an amazing role, that of a woman who screams at the men, "You're all murderers. Leave them alone. Let them go. You're all murderers." She put on an amazing scene. She was sort of the heart screaming out at these guys, and it was heart-wrenching to watch them chasing down. First, the mares. It was a stallion with 3 mares and a baby horse, whatever they call them. And they chased down the mares. They lassoed them, and the horses would fight the best they could, trying to save their lives. But then the cowboys would tie up their 4 legs and tie them to their neck and leave them on the desert floor tied to a tire. Most touching scene was the colt, the little foal, going up to paw the mother horse as she lay there all tied up, helpless on the ground. It's amazing to watch these horses. But then they go after the stallion, the head of the brood. The stallion puts up the greatest fight, but eventually he too was brought down by those men who wanted to sell him for the money, for 5 cents a pound. The three girl horses, the baby, and the stallion. And as I watched the stallion being lassoed and brought down, I couldn't help but thinking what an amazing and apt description it is of the Lilliputians on the left and what they have done to the once great stallion of America. Through 1,000 lassos, they have brought us down. They have brought down this nation and have left us tied up for the slaughter. It will take an act of God to cut the ropes that bind us as we await the slaughterhouse. The once great stallion of America, tied to the canyon floor by the Lilliputians who have thrown hundreds of rings of rope around us.
Savage.
I'm back in the saddle again, out where a friend is a friend, where the longhorn cattle feed on the lowly Jimson wheat. Back in the saddle again.
So I go back again to that movie, the once great stallion of America that I talked about in the end of the movie, The Misfits with Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, and Montgomery Clift. But one of the most touching scenes was that after they had tied up the mares and the little colt went over and pawed the mom horse. It was really, I mean, even a strong man would see that, and something in him would, I guess, feel it. But then they get the stallion. And he puts up a hell of a damn fight. But they win. They get him down. And as they're tying him up and trussing him up, I keep thinking of other men and of other nations who have fallen. That's all I could think about, the metaphor of this movie. I think of the warriors who either get old or tired. Even a man such as Tyson. I saw an amazing documentary again the other night on Mike Tyson, where he sits down in the ring with McBride. He gets hit hard, and he goes down on his butt, and he won't get up. And then they go to his corner, and they throw the towel in. At the end of the fight, in front of the whole world, Mike Tyson has the guts to say to the world, I don't like fighting anymore. I don't have the guts for this game anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I did it only for the money. It was amazing to watch. And the documentary ends with this great warrior, Mike Tyson, saying that he has changed. He's a different man. He doesn't want to fight anymore. And I said to myself, is that the story of America? Is it that we don't have the guts to fight these dictatorships? Is it that we don't have the guts to fight in us anymore? Is that what's wrong? Where has the fight gone? Oh, you can blame this one, you can blame that one, you can point fingers at yourself if you want. But you have to ask yourself, is that really what's going on here? Is Obama really only a symptom rather than the disease? Is Obama a symptom of America's end? Or is he actually the matador who's going to bring about the end by putting the final sword into our heart underneath the red cape, so to speak? But again, going back to the film I was referring to, The Misfits, So they get the stallion and the mares, and they're all separated across the canyon floor. And then Marilyn Monroe's like crying and screaming. And, of course, she's representing the heart and soul, in essence, of people who want the freedom for the animals and for themselves. Because the animals, of course, represent the stallion within us, the wildness within us, the desire to live freely within us. And when the movie came out, remember, in the early 50s, it was almost the beginning of the end of America's freedoms in many, many ways. That's how incredibly typical this movie was, or depictive of America at that time. So don't think this just began yesterday under Obama. America's been being tied up for a very long time by the Lilliputians, tying us up in red tape, bureaucracy, tying us up in laws, regulations that nobody wants. Everybody knows that they're crazy. Millions of bureaucrats tying up hundreds of millions of people, and the people slowly but surely winding up tied up on the canyon floor. So the last scene is amazing. The Montgomery Clift character does what she wants, and he races out in the pickup truck to the stallion, and he cuts the ropes around the stallion's legs. And here comes one of the most touching parts of this movie. I think this was real. I don't think that they can make a horse do this. The stallion, when he is freed, runs way back across the canyon floor and goes to his mares who are tied up on another part of the canyon floor. He goes to them. That horse showed more loyalty than most of us could ever understand. The horse showed more human values than most humans today. I was amazed when I watched this. He didn't think of his own safety. He didn't think of his own freedom and run off into the to the forests up on the mountains. He ran back to the mares that were tied up, left on the canyon floor. It was amazing to me. And then, of course, the rest of the movie is fantasy before it ends. The Clark Gable character, who had just wrestled the stallion down, goes and recaptures the stallion in one of the most phenomenal scenes of a cowboy and a horse I've ever seen in my life. Of course, it was a double. They got a real cowboy fighting a real stallion, being dragged along the floor. I couldn't believe it, the canyon floor. I couldn't believe it I was watching. They could never make a movie like that today. But at the end, after he captures the stallion a second time, ties him to the truck, he takes out a knife, a penknife, exhausted, the Clark Gable character, panting, and he cuts the horse loose and it runs away. And he says to the others, I just didn't want anyone telling me what to do and when to do it. The movie The Misfits, never saw it, but to me it struck me as though from heaven itself, as a metaphor of what we're living through here in America. Who are the misfits? It seems to me that the misfits are the government officials, who are cowards, every last one of them, and they work in conjunction with one another, and they tie us up through their tricks and their chicanery. We have an administration that will not enforce the law with regard to the illegal aliens from Mexico, so the people of Arizona want to free themselves from these misfits in the federal government, and the federal government, with all its powers, threatens the people, the freedom-loving people of Arizona, says, no, we're not going to let you be free. We're going to keep you imprisoned by the illegal aliens who are overrunning your land, bringing in drugs, polluting your beautiful country, killing your ranchers, shooting your sheriffs. No, we're not going to let you be free. We want you to be enslaved by us. So we'll put more ropes around you. And so we wake up to the news. The DHS enforcement chief says, I'm not going to enforce the law. So he's breaking the law. He should be arrested immediately, shouldn't he? No, he's not breaking the law. He's actually enforcing law. Which law? What law? What law are you talking about? He's breaking the federal law on illegal immigration. He's failing to enforce the law. He should be fired. But we have a one-party system. That's the problem. We have a one-party system, and instead of a vigorous press that stands there and says, no, Mr. President, you cannot do this. No, Mr. President, you're breaking the law on our borders when you say a nation is not defined by its borders. No, Mr. President, you can't stab Israel in the back. They are our ally. As flawed as Israel is, Mr. President, they're the best bet we have in the Middle East. Go compare it to life in Syria, Mr. President. But would you expect something else from a man named Hussein? Did you really expect something different from a man whose middle name was Hussein? It was an issue during the campaign, but you were told you were racist if you even noticed his middle name was Hussein, and that that perennial schmuck, John McCain, who I'll never forgive for giving us Obama, that despicable rhino McCain had the audacity to say, don't mention his middle name, Hussein. He's a nice man, just like me. He did it to us. But let's stop the finger pointing. We can talk about any of these topics if you want, the metaphor, the horse, the once great stallion of America, my speech, which is the kind of speech that you would have liked to hear from an American statesman, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love to hear a presidential candidate get up and talk about a movie, The Misfits, instead of this crap that you're hearing from these 10th-rate minds? These 10th-rate minds that are running everything. So you see, my friends, that's the kind of speech you've been waiting to hear from candidates, but you will never hear it in the United States of America. You can only hear it on radio, the last hope for America. And I'm going to take a break right now. Thank you.
Savvy.